The ancient bell in Silverpine's sacred cathedral tolled 13 times, each resonant chime vibrating through my chest like an accusation. My trembling fingers clutched a bundle of moonflowers, their luminescent petals glowing faintly in the torchlit space, their honeyed fragrance cloying and suffocating in the smoke-thick air. Whispers rippled through the carved wooden pews behind me, growing louder with each second. Alpha Damien was late to the altar. Hello friends. Before we journey deeper into Serena's story, I invite you to subscribe and share in the comments where you're listening from. Your presence here matters. Now, let's continue. He's not coming, my younger sister Kira whispered, her hand warm on my bare shoulder. I refused to believe it, even as my ceremonial dress, cream-colored silk embroidered with Silverpine's silver wolf sigil, too tight across my ribs and borrowed from a cousin who stood 3 inches taller, felt like it was slowly strangling me. The bodice dug into my skin with each shallow breath, a physical manifestation of the pressure crushing down on me. Representatives from 6 packs filled the cathedral, their eyes boring into my back. Elders in their formal robes, alphas with their mates, warriors standing at attention along the stone walls. 200 witnesses to what should have been my bonding ceremony. 200 pairs of eyes watching me unravel. Just wait, I insisted, my voice barely audible over the murmuring crowd. Traffic from the pack house, maybe. But I knew deep down. I knew the mind-link message I'd felt an hour earlier, sharp, cold, deliberate, suddenly burned in my memory like a brand. I can't do this, Serena. Your bloodline is a stain I won't carry. A stain. That's what 23 years of my life had become in Damien's eyes. Not the woman who'd waited faithfully for 2 years, believing his promises. Not the she-wolf who'd helped organize pack runs and attended every council meeting at his side. Just a stain on his precious alpha lineage, a mistake he'd decided at the last possible moment to correct. The murmurs grew louder. Elder Miriam, who should have been conducting the bonding ritual, gave me a pitying look that made my stomach turn. The ancient she-wolf had performed this ceremony for 40 years, binding hundreds of mates, and I could see in her weathered face that she knew this union was dead before it began. Maybe you should reach out through the mind link again, Kira suggested, though we both knew it was useless. I'd tried 17 times in the past 30 minutes, each attempt hitting a wall of deliberate silence. The cathedral's massive oak doors creaked open. My heart leapt painfully, hope flaring like a struck match, but it was just my childhood friend Marin slipping back inside, her expression confirming what I already knew. She gave a small, devastated shake of her head and pressed a folded note into my hand. Serena, this is for the best. You'll understand eventually. D. I didn't need to read more. The weight of Damien's absence crushed the air from my lungs. 3 years of believing we were fated mates, 2 years of official courtship, months of preparation for this ceremony, all culminating in this moment of perfect, public humiliation. The first tear broke free, sliding down my cheek and taking a streak of carefully applied ceremonial paint with it. I had woken at dawn to let the pack's elder females paint the traditional blessing marks on my face, intricate silver lines that symbolized the moon goddess's favor. Now they dissolved into meaningless smears. I need to leave, I managed to say, my voice cracking. I can't, everyone's watching. As I turned to flee, to escape through the side entrance where rejected wolves traditionally exited in shame, the heavy wooden doors at the back of the cathedral slammed open with decisive force. Every head turned. The sound echoed through the vaulted stone ceiling like a thunderclap, silencing the whispers instantly. Even the ceremonial fires burning in their iron braziers seemed to flicker and dim. He entered like a shadow-given form, tall, imposing, flanked by 3 wolves whose watchful eyes scanned the room with predatory efficiency. The stranger wore leather and fur armor that looked like it had survived 100 battles, dark material marked with scars and repairs. His wild black hair was pulled back from a face that seemed carved from granite, a jagged scar cutting across his left cheek like a lightning strike frozen in flesh. Handsome wasn't the right word. He was beautiful in the way dangerous things often are, a sleek predator, a gathering storm, a blade-catching torchlight. I didn't know him. I was certain of that. Yet something about him struck me as vaguely, impossibly familiar, like a half-remembered dream. Who is that? Kira whispered, but I could only shake my head. The stranger's presence commanded the cathedral as he strode down the center aisle with purposeful steps, his boots echoing on ancient stone. His gaze, intense, molten gold, utterly unreadable, fixed on me, and I felt pinned in place, unable to move under the weight of his scrutiny. Behind him, more wolves filtered in, positioning themselves at the doors and along the walls. Not pack wolves. Rogues. I could tell by their mismatched armor, their scarred faces, the way they moved with the coordinated efficiency of warriors who'd survived outside pack protection. Time seemed to slow as he approached. I became acutely aware of my smeared face paint, the ill-fitting dress, my complete exposure in this moment of abandonment. Shame burned through me like wildfire. He stopped 3 feet from me, close enough that I could detect the faint scent of pine smoke and wild earth and something else, something sharp and masculine that made my wolf stir for the first time in hours. She'd been dying, retreating into the dark corners of my mind after the bond rejection. Now she surged forward, curious, alert, interested. Serena Ashwood. His voice was low, resonant, carrying an authority that made every wolf in the cathedral instinctively straighten. Not a question. A statement of fact. I managed a nod, clutching my wilting moonflowers like a shield. My name is Kaedor. He said it as though I should recognize it, a subtle tension appearing in his scarred jaw when I showed no reaction. You don't know who I am. It wasn't a question, but I shook my head anyway. The name meant nothing to me, though whispers had erupted around us like wildfire. The Rogue King. He's here. In a pack cathedral. Impossible. His gold eyes flicked to the empty spot where Damien should have been standing, then back to me. Your Alpha, he said, the title with thinly veiled contempt, isn't coming. I know, I whispered, humiliation burning anew at having this dangerous stranger witness my rejection. Kaedor's expression darkened almost imperceptibly. He rejected you because he knew what you'd become. What you already are. The cathedral had fallen completely silent. Even Elder Miriam had stilled, watching the exchange with wide, shocked eyes. I don't understand, I said, fighting to keep my voice steady. You will. His gaze intensified, and I felt something crack open inside me, not painfully, but like a door I'd never known was locked suddenly swinging wide. Damien rejected you at this altar because his elders warned him. They told him about your bloodline, about the mark you carry, about what would happen if he completed the bond. What mark? I don't. The crescent moon on your left shoulder blade, Kaedor interrupted. The one you've had since birth. The one your pack has been suppressing with magic for 23 years. Gasps rippled through the crowd. How did he know about my birthmark? I'd never shown it to anyone except family, always covering it, always ashamed of its strange silver glow. Before I could respond, Damien's voice rang out from the cathedral entrance. This is pack business, rogue. You have no right to be here. Kaedor didn't even turn to look at him. His eyes remained locked on mine. I have every right. By the old laws, a wolf rejected at the sacred altar becomes unclaimed. Free to be chosen by another. My heart hammered against my ribs. What are you saying? Finally, he turned to face the assembled packs, his voice carrying to every corner of the ancient stone building. Serena Ashwood was rejected by her Alpha. Under the old laws, she is unclaimed territory. He turned back to me, and something fierce and possessive flared in his golden eyes. And I'm claiming her. The cathedral erupted in chaos, shouts, protests, the scraping of boots on stone as warriors moved to defensive positions. But all I could hear was my own wolf howling inside my mind, not in pain or rejection, but in recognition. And when Kaedor extended his scarred hand toward me, palm up in ancient gesture of claiming, I felt something I'd never felt with Damien. A mate bond. The real one. The cathedral held its breath as Kaedor's outstretched hand waited between us, his scarred palm facing upward in the ancient gesture of claiming. My wolf surged against my ribs with such force I gasped, the sensation nothing like the gentle tug I'd felt with Damien. This was wildfire, consuming, terrifying, utterly undeniable. You can't just walk into sacred space and steal a pack member, Damien snarled, finally striding down the aisle with his beta Marcus flanking him. His face was flushed with rage, all pretense of the cold, calculating Alpha stripped away. Serena is still under Silverpine protection. Kaedor's smile was sharp as broken glass. Protection? Is that what you call abandoning her at the altar in front of 6 packs? He gestured at the assembled crowd without breaking eye contact with Damien. You severed more than a potential mate bond today. You severed her pack ties. That's what happens when an alpha publicly rejects a wolf at the sacred altar. The ceremony doesn't just end the courtship, it breaks the connection to pack entirely. Elder Miriam's voice cracked through the tension. He speaks truth. The old law is clear. A wolf rejected at this altar by their alpha becomes unmowed. Technically outside pack jurisdiction until formally reclaimed. My head spun. I didn't know that was possible. Most wolves don't, Kaedor replied, his hand still extended toward me. The packs buried that particular law centuries ago. Too inconvenient when alphas wanted to discard wolves without losing their labor force. Damien's jaw clenched so hard I heard his teeth grind. Even if that's true, you have no authority here. You're a rogue, a criminal. I'm the king of rogues, Kaedor corrected, his voice dropping to something dangerous. Alpha of the Outlands, breaker of chains, commander of 300 wolves who remember what freedom tastes like. He took one step closer to Damien, and I watched my former intended actually retreat. I have authority wherever wolves gather who are tired of being broken by rules designed to keep them docile. This is insanity. Alpha Marcus of Western Reach stood from his pew, his ceremonial robes rustling. You can't seriously expect us to honor some dusty old law just because you invoke it. I expect you to honor the laws you claim give you power, Kaedor shot back. Or admit that pack law only matters when it serves your interests. The accusation hung in the air like smoke. I could see wolves throughout the cathedral exchanging glances, some uncomfortable, others nodding slightly in agreement. Kaedor turned back to me, his expression softening almost imperceptibly. Serena Ashwood, I claim you under the old laws, by right of the unclaimed and the right of the rejected. His voice carried formal weight now, the ancient ritual words. I offer protection, freedom, and a place where your worth isn't measured by your ancestors' ranks or the opinions of wolves who never knew your strength. He knelt then, actually knelt, one knee pressing against the cold stone floor, and my breath caught. An alpha never kneels except to a mate. The gesture sent shockwaves through the gathered packs. If you accept, he continued, his golden eyes holding mine, you walk out of here with me tonight. If you refuse, I leave alone and you face whatever future your former alpha has planned for you. My mind raced. Stay meant facing Damien's wrath, his embarrassment at being publicly rejected turned back on me. It meant whispers in corridors, pitying looks, possibly reassignment to the lowest pack duties. Silverpine didn't treat failed bondings kindly, especially when the failure was so spectacularly public. Going meant entering a world I knew nothing about with a man I'd met 5 minutes ago. Rogues lived outside pack structure, outside civilization. Everything I'd been taught said they were dangerous, unpredictable, barely civilized. Yet my wolf was practically purring, pressing forward with an intensity that bordered on desperate. She wanted this man's hand in mine with a certainty that shook me to my core. Serena, don't be foolish, Damien's voice cut through my thoughts. He'd moved closer, his beta creating a subtle barrier between Kaedor and me. You'd be trading pack civilization for a lawless wasteland. Do you really think? I think you lost the right to advise me the moment you sent that coward's note instead of facing me like an alpha should. I interrupted, surprising myself with the steel in my voice. Damien flinched. Good. I looked at Kira, whose eyes were swimming with tears but whose expression was resolute. She gave the smallest nod. Do what feels right, not what looks right. My gaze drifted across the crowd. Lydia Stormcrest sat in the third pew, the Northern Ridge Alpha's daughter who'd apparently captured Damien's interest enough to warrant my rejection. She smirked, her painted lips curving with cruel satisfaction. Behind her, Elder Tobias watched with calculated interest, his ancient face revealing nothing. 200 witnesses who'd watched my humiliation with varying degrees of satisfaction, pity, or indifference. Not one had stood up for me. Not one had questioned Damien's absence until Kaedor forced the issue. I dropped the moonflower bouquet, watching the luminescent petals scatter across stone already stained by centuries of ceremonies. My mother had sewn this dress by hand before her death 3 years ago, every stitch a prayer that I'd find happiness. Wearing it to my own rejection felt like desecrating her memory. But walking away in it might honor her wish after all. My hand shook as I reached for Kaedor's. The moment our skin connected, electricity arced between us, visible, tangible, undeniable. Silver light flashed where our palms met, and gasps rippled through the cathedral like wind through wheat. Impossible, Elder Miriam breathed, staggering forward. That's the mark of true mates. But his rogue, she's pack-born, the bloodlines shouldn't. Shouldn't what? Kaedor stood, pulling me gently to my feet, his hand warm and steady around mine. Shouldn't recognize each other? Shouldn't choose freedom over tradition? He raised our joined hands, letting everyone see the silver glow that pulsed between our connection. This is what you fear, that mate bonds don't care about your carefully constructed hierarchies. The light faded but the sensation remained, a golden thread connecting us that I could feel stretching between our chests. Kaedor released his leather outer coat, draping it over my shoulders. It smelled like him, pine smoke, wild earth, something uniquely male, and was warm from his body heat. The weight settled over me like armor. Consider this your notice, he addressed the assembled packs, his voice carrying unmistakable authority. Serena Ashwood is under my protection. Anyone who harms her, hunts her, or even speaks her name with disrespect answers to me personally. You can't just walk into pack territory and steal, Damien started. You discarded her like garbage. Kaedor's voice dropped to a lethal growl that made my former intended actually step backward. I picked her up. There's a difference. Learn it. As we turned toward the door, Elder Miriam called out. Wait, child. Please. Kaedor tensed but allowed me to pause. The ancient she-wolf approached with careful steps, her roomy eyes studying my face with sudden intensity. Let me see your left shoulder blade, she said quietly. Confused, I glanced at Kaedor, who gave a slight nod. I turned, allowing Elder Miriam to pull back both his coat and the fabric of my dress. The cathedral fell silent as my birthmark became visible, the crescent moon intertwined with a wolf's paw that I'd always hidden, always been told was nothing special. But now it glowed with silver light none had ever seen before, pulsing in rhythm with my heartbeat. Elder Miriam staggered back, her weathered hand flying to her mouth. The mark of the first lunar, but that bloodline was supposed to be extinct. Nothing's extinct. Kaedor's smile was sharp with triumph as he adjusted his coat back over my shoulders. Just hidden. Suppressed. Bred down over generations because alphas feared what they couldn't control. And I found her. Chaos erupted. Alphas shouted questions. Warriors moved toward us. Elder Tobias was calling for order while his face twisted with something between fear and calculation. But Kaedor simply wrapped an arm around my waist, protective, possessive, grounding, and guided me toward the door. His 3 rogue wolves materialized from the shadows, forming a protective barrier as we moved. I looked back once. Damien stood frozen, his face contorted with rage and dawning realization. Lydia Stormcrest's smirk had vanished, replaced with naked shock. Kira pressed her fingers to her lips, tears streaming, mouthing words I couldn't quite make out. As we reached the threshold, Kaedor leaned close enough that his breath stirred my hair. That mark? It's why he rejected you. The elders told him what you could become. He was afraid of you, Serena. Terrified of what you'd eclipse once you were free. My world tilted on its axis. What am I? Free, Kaedor answered, guiding me into the night where more rogue wolves waited with horses. Finally free. Everything else, we'll figure out together. The cathedral doors closed behind us with thunderous finality, cutting off the chaos inside. I stood in the moonlit courtyard, surrounded by dangerous strangers, wearing a dead man's coat over my mother's wedding dress, my birthmark burning with silver fire I'd never felt before. And for the first time in 23 years, my wolf wasn't cowering in the shadows of my mind. She was awake. She was furious. And she was ready to discover exactly what the packs had spent generations trying to suppress. The courtyard torches cast dancing shadows across scarred faces as Kaedor's rogues prepared for immediate departure. My ceremonial dress felt absurd now, the delicate silk and embroidered sigils marking me as prey in this gathering of predators. Yet none of them looked at me with the disdain I'd grown accustomed to in Silverpine. If anything, their expressions held curiosity tinged with something like respect. Thank you for continuing this journey with me, friends. If this story speaks to you, share it with someone who needs to hear about claiming their own power. Now, let's ride into the unknown. We have 3 hours to the border of my territory, Kaedor said, leading me toward a massive black stallion that stamped impatiently at the cobblestones. Can you ride, or do you need to shift? The question caught me off guard. I can ride, but I haven't shifted in months. The admission tasted like shame on my tongue. Low-rank wolves in Silverpine were discouraged from shifting except during mandatory pack runs. Kaedor's jaw tightened, a muscle jumping beneath the scar on his cheek. They caged your wolf. Kept her dormant so she couldn't challenge their neat little hierarchy. He swung onto the horse with practiced ease, then extended his hand down to me. No wonder she's screaming right now. He was right. My wolf paced inside my mind with agitated energy, desperate to break free after months of forced suppression. I took his hand, letting him pull me up behind him. The position forced intimacy, my arms around his waist, my chest pressed against his back, our bodies moving in rhythm as the horse began to walk. 3 wolves flanked us as we left the courtyard. The massive male on our right was introduced as Rafe, Kaedor's second-in-command, his kind eyes contrasting sharply with the brutal scars crossing his throat. A female warrior named NYX rode left, her body a roadmap of survived violence, every scar a testament to battles won. The youngest, Finn, couldn't be more than 18, his eager face watching me with unconcealed fascination. We traveled through Silverpine territory in tense silence, every shadow potentially hiding pack warriors sent to retrieve their embarrassment. I felt Kaedor's muscles tense each time we passed through vulnerable terrain, a narrow pass between rocks, a dense copse of trees, anywhere an ambush could be staged. The mark Elder Miriam mentioned, I ventured after we'd been riding for 20 minutes. What did she mean about the first Luna? Kaedor's voice rumbled through his chest into my ear. Your bloodline descends from the moon goddess's daughter. The original wolves, before packs and ranks and politics divided us into fighting factions. Before alphas decided they owned other wolves' destinies. I processed this information, trying to reconcile it with everything I'd been taught. The Ashwoods were considered the weakest family in Silverpine. How could we possibly? Because someone made you weak on purpose, he interrupted, his tone matter-of-fact. Power like yours had to be suppressed, hidden, diluted, or it would threaten every alpha's carefully built hierarchy. So they bred your family down over generations. Mated your grandmothers to weak wolves, used magic to bind bloodlines, convinced you that your lack of strength was natural rather than inflicted. The words hit like physical blows. You're saying my family was deliberately diminished? Yes. His hand covered mine where it rested against his abdomen, the gesture surprisingly gentle. It's an old trick. But blood always remembers what it was, Serena. Given the right circumstances, given freedom, it finds its way back to true form. My mind reeled with implications. Every slight I'd endured, every pitying look, every time I'd been passed over for positions or opportunities because my bloodline was insufficient, all of it a lie. A carefully orchestrated campaign to keep me small. Rage kindled in my chest, hot and righteous. We reached the edge of Silverpine territory just as the moon climbed higher. Beta Marcus waited there with 5 warriors, their formal armor gleaming in the moonlight. He trained me when I was young, teaching basic self-defense before my instructors decided I wasn't worth the effort. Serena, come with us, Marcus called out, his voice carrying false warmth. We can sort this situation out properly. Get you somewhere safe. Safe. Kaedor's laugh was bitter. You mean compliant. Controlled. Caged again. Marcus ignored him, focusing entirely on me. I know Damien treated you poorly tonight. But rogues are dangerous, unpredictable. This isn't freedom, child. It's trading one cage for another, and this one has teeth. The warriors spread out in a subtle flanking maneuver. Kaedor's wolves moved in response, positioning themselves defensively. Tension crackled through the air like lightning before a storm. Beta Marcus, I said, surprised by the steadiness in my voice. Where were you when your alpha rejected me? Where was the pack when I needed protection? His expression flickered with something, guilt, perhaps, or simply discomfort at being called out. I'm making my own choices now, I continued, nudging my heels against the horse's flanks to move forward. For the first time in my life, they're actually mine to make. We crossed into neutral territory, and I felt something break inside, not painfully, but like iron shackles falling away from limbs I hadn't realized were bound. The sensation was dizzying, liberating, terrifying in its absoluteness. Behind us, Beta Marcus didn't pursue. Whether from respect for neutral ground or orders not to escalate, I didn't know. Didn't care. The landscape changed dramatically as we traveled deeper into unclaimed lands. Manicured pack forests gave way to wild growth, untamed and beautiful in its chaos. No maintained roads, no boundary markers, no artificial borders claiming this tree or that stream belonged to some alpha's territory. We passed a settlement, makeshift homes and tents arranged in loose clusters, cooking fires sending smoke into the star-filled sky. Children ran between structures, their laughter carrying on the wind. What struck me most was the absence of hierarchy in their movements. No downcast eyes, no submissive postures, no careful navigation of invisible rank structures. An older female wolf emerged from one tent, greeting Kaedor with a respectful nod but no cowering. "Safe travels, King. We heard what happened in the cathedral. She's welcome among us." "Thank you, Moira," Kaedor replied, his tone warm. Not commanding, not demanding, simply acknowledging her as an equal. This wasn't chaos. It was just different. Wolves choosing to live together without the crushing weight of pack law dictating every interaction. We crested a ridge as dawn began painting the sky in shades of rose and gold. Below us, carved into the mountainside itself, stood Kaedor's stronghold. Not the crude collection of tents and caves I'd imagined, but a fortress of stone and wood that seemed to grow organically from the rock face. Defensive walls lit by torches, watchtowers manned by alert sentries, and within, hundreds of wolves moving with purposeful coordination. "Shadow's edge," Kaedor said, and I heard pride in his voice. Every wolf here was rejected, exiled, or escaped from packs that tried to break them. We built this together. "How many?" I breathed, awed by the scope of it. 312 as of this morning. 313 now, counting you. We descended the winding path to the fortress gates, which opened at our approach. Wolves paused in their tasks to watch us pass, training in the courtyard, hauling supplies, repairing structures. Curious eyes tracked my movement, but the stares lacked hostility. Kaedor led us to a great hall where wolves were gathering for morning meal. The scent of cooking meat and fresh bread made my empty stomach growl. I realized I hadn't eaten since yesterday, too nervous about the ceremony to manage more than water. He dismounted, then helped me down. His hands at my waist were careful, respectful, yet I felt the mate bond pulse with each point of contact between us. "Brothers and sisters of the shadow," Kaedor's voice carried across the assembled crowd, and conversation died. "I've brought someone home. Serena was rejected by Silverpine's Alpha at the sacred altar. By the old laws, I've claimed her, and she's accepted." Mixed reactions rippled through the crowd. Some cheered, pounding fists on tables in approval. Others looked wary, whispering among themselves. A harsh female voice called out from the back, "She's pack-born. Pack-trained. How do we know she's not a spy?" Kaedor didn't defend me. Instead, he looked at me, his expression neutral. "They're right to question. Trust is earned here, not given by rank or bloodline." The test was clear. I stepped forward, my legs shaking but my voice surprisingly strong. "I'm not asking for trust. I'm asking for a chance to earn it." The harsh voice belonged to a scarred female warrior pushing through the crowd. "Myra, I'd learn later. Then show us your wolf. Prove you're not some weak pack princess playing at rebellion." My stomach dropped. The one thing I'd failed at for months, the shame I'd carried through every mandatory pack run where my wolf refused to emerge fully. The suppressions my pack had used, my own self-doubt, my fear of inadequacy, all of it had choked my wolf into near dormancy. But something was different now. My wolf surged forward with unprecedented strength, no longer caged by magic or expectations or shame. The shift that used to take painful minutes happened in seconds. Power flooded through me like wildfire through dry grass. My body reshaped itself, bones realigning, muscles reforming, fur erupting across my skin. And when I stood on 4 legs in the center of that great hall, the assembled wolves fell silent. I wasn't the small brown creature I'd expected. My wolf was large, not massive like an alpha male, but substantial, powerful. And my fur wasn't brown or gray like every other Ashwood wolf in memory. It was silver-white, gleaming like moonlight given form. The crescent mark on my shoulder blazed with that same silver light, visible even through my pelt. Kaedor's sharp intake of breath told me this wasn't normal. Myra dropped to one knee, her head bowing. Others followed, not all, but enough to make the gesture significant. NYX whispered, barely audible. The Luna of Legends, she's real. I shifted back, suddenly aware of my nakedness. Someone quickly provided a cloak, wrapping it around my shoulders as I stood trembling from exertion and shock. Serena. Kaedor approached slowly, his expression caught between awe and concern. Your wolf, she's not just first Luna bloodline. He paused, seeming to choose his words carefully. She's an alpha wolf. That's impossible, I managed. I'm the weakest. You were told you were weak, he corrected, his golden eyes holding mine. There's a difference between being weak and being convinced you are. And Damien knew. That's why he rejected you before you could discover what you truly are. My legs gave out. Kaedor caught me before I hit the stone floor, his arms solid and steady around me. What am I? I whispered against his chest. My equal, he said simply. And every pack's worst nightmare. Morning light streamed through an arched window, painting golden patterns across furs piled on a massive bed. For a disorienting moment, I thought the previous night was a fever dream, then I saw Kaedor's leather coat draped over a chair, still carrying his scent of pine and smoke and something wild that made my wolf stir lazily. Welcome back, friends. If you're invested in Serena's transformation, please subscribe and share where you're listening from. Your support keeps these stories alive. Now, let's continue. A knock preceded NYX entering with clothes and food. The king thought you might want to eat before facing the chaos, she said, setting a tray on the small table. Bread, cheese, dried meat, simple fare but more appealing than any pack feast I'd attended. Chaos? I asked, wrapping a fare around myself. Word of your wolf spread through the stronghold like wildfire. Everyone wants to see the Luna of Legends. NYX's scarred face softened with something like sympathy. Though if you ask me, titles trapped you in your old pack. Here, you get to decide who you are. The words settled over me like a blessing. I dressed in the provided clothes, practical leather pants and a tunic that actually fit my frame, so different from Silverpine's restrictive fashions designed to mark rank through discomfort. After eating, I found my way to the courtyard where wolves trained in the early morning sun. Hand-to-hand combat, weapons drills, coordinated pack maneuvers, everything Silverpine warriors did, but without the rigid hierarchy that determined who could learn what skills. In your pack, you were never trained to fight, were you? Kaedor's voice came from beside me. I hadn't heard him approach. I shook my head. Low-rank females weren't allowed. We were taught to serve, submit, support the pack structure. His expression darkened. Here, everyone trains. Everyone fights. Because when the packs come, and they will come, I need every wolf able to defend themselves. He gestured toward the training grounds. Rafe will start teaching you basic defensive stances. We'll build from there. Rafe proved to be a patient but demanding instructor. My body, conditioned for submission postures and graceful movements appropriate to my former rank, rebelled against the aggressive stances he demonstrated. I failed repeatedly to block simple attacks, my reflexes all wrong, my instincts screaming to yield rather than strike. Frustration built with each failure. My wolf growled inside, wanting to surge forward and dominate, but I fought to maintain control as I'd been trained. Let her out, Kaedor said quietly from where he watched. Stop fighting what you are. When I stopped trying to control every movement and let my wolf's instincts guide me, everything shifted. My body moved with speed I didn't know I possessed, power flowing through muscles that had been dormant. I actually landed a hit on Rafe that made him stumble back, surprise flashing across his scarred face. But the exertion triggered something. Pain lanced through my chest where the mate bond with Damien had been severed, sharp and brutal. I collapsed, coughing, and blood stained my lips when I pulled my hand away. Kaedor carried me to the stronghold's healer before I could protest. Theron was ancient, his weathered face speaking of centuries survived. He examined me with gentle efficiency, pressing fingers against my ribs, my throat, listening to my labored breathing. The rejection damaged more than just your bond, he said finally. It damaged your wolf's core. When you shift now, when you use power, you're forcing energy through broken channels. It's like asking a river to flow through shattered stone. Can it be healed? Kaedor demanded, his voice tight with concern. Theron looked between us, his ancient eyes knowing. Only one thing heals a severed mate bond, a new, true bond replacing it. He paused significantly. You two are true mates. I can smell it, sense it on both of you. The question is why you're pretending you're not. Awkward silence filled the small healing room. I studied the floor, acutely aware of Kaedor's presence beside me. Because claiming her officially would make her an even bigger target. Kaedor spoke first, his jaw tight. Every pack would see her as my weakness to exploit. And because I just escaped one man who thought he could own me, I added quietly. I'm not ready to be claimed by another, even if. I couldn't finish the sentence, but the truth hung between us like smoke. A commotion outside interrupted whatever Theron might have said. Finn burst through the door, breathing hard. King, there's news. The Alpha Council has declared your claim on Serena illegal. They are demanding her return to pack territory for proper placement. My stomach turned to ice. Proper placement. It means they'll assign you to whatever pack will take you, Kaedor explained, his voice carefully neutral. Probably as Omega or lower, given the circumstances. And if you refuse, it's grounds for declaring war on the rogue wolves, Finn finished. 6 packs against us. The council is threatening to unite against you if you keep her. Kaedor's council gathered quickly in his war room, Rafe, NYX, Myra, and 3 others I hadn't met. They debated furiously, send me back to avoid war, prepare for inevitable conflict, negotiate terms, flee deeper into unclaimed territory where pack law couldn't reach. I listened to them discuss my future like I wasn't even present, rage building with each passing minute. Finally, I slammed my hand on the heavy wooden table hard enough to rattle the maps spread across it. I'm right here. The words came out sharper than intended. Stop talking about me like I'm a possession to be traded. Kaedor's gold eyes fixed on me. Then what do you want? I want to understand what I am. Why the Alpha Council fears me enough to threaten war. Why my wolf is suddenly powerful when I was nothing in Silverpine. My voice steadied as I spoke. And I want to decide my own fate. Something shifted in Kaedor's expression, respect, perhaps, or recognition. He stood abruptly. Come with me. He led me through winding corridors to a hidden room, a library salvaged from abandoned pack halls. Ancient texts lined shelves carved into stone, their leather bindings cracked with age. Kaedor pulled one tome from its resting place, opening it to a marked page. Read this. The text was old, written in formal script. When the rejected Luna rises with silver fur and bearing the crescent mark, she will either unite the wolves under a new law or burn the old packs to ash. My hands trembled holding the prophecy that had shaped my entire life without my knowledge. This is why Damien rejected me, I breathed. Not because I was weak, but because I was dangerous. Yes. His pack elders discovered your mark when you were tested at 18. They've been suppressing your wolf with subtle magic ever since, keeping you dormant so the prophecy couldn't manifest. Magic? Wolves don't use. The old wolves did. Most knowledge was lost, but some alphas kept it specifically to maintain control. Kaedor's expression was grim. They've been poisoning you slowly for 5 years, Serena. Weakening your wolf, convincing you that your powerlessness was natural. The room spun. Every weakness, every failure, every moment of shame, manufactured. Inflicted. A conspiracy to keep me contained. Why did you really claim me? I confronted him directly. You knew all this. You came for me knowing what I could become. What do you want from me? Honest answer came after a long moment. I want to break the pack system that rejects wolves like you and me. I want to build something better. And yes, I want your power to help do it. His gold eyes held mine. But I won't force you, Serena. The claim wasn't conditional on your cooperation. What if I don't want to be part of your revolution? Then I'll still protect you. Simple. Direct. True. For the first time, I felt genuine trust begin to form. A scout burst in, shattering the moment. Silverpine wolves at the border. 20 warriors, led by Beta Marcus. They are demanding to speak with Serena. Kaedor immediately began issuing defensive orders, but I stopped him with a hand on his arm. No. I'll speak to them. I straightened, feeling my wolf rise within me. Not as a rejected Omega, but as. I hesitated. As who you're becoming, Kaedor finished. We walked to the border together, And I realized this was my first real test. Face my old pack not with submission, but with the power I was only beginning to understand. 20 Silverpine warriors waited at the tree line marking the border between pack and rogue territory. Beta Marcus stood at the front, but my eyes locked onto the figure beside him. Damien himself, dressed in full alpha regalia, had come personally. Serena Ashwood, Marcus called out, his voice carrying diplomatic warmth that rang false to my ears. We've come to negotiate your safe return to Packlands. I stood flanked by Kaedor and his rogues, feeling my wolf surge with newfound confidence. I'm already safe. Damien stepped forward, his handsome face arranged in an expression of concern that might have fooled me once. You don't understand the position you're in. The Alpha Council has declared this entire situation a violation of pack law. If you don't return willingly, they'll authorize a hunt. Let them try, Kaedor growled beside me. Damien ignored him completely, his green eyes fixed on me with uncomfortable intensity. I know I hurt you. I made a mistake, a serious error in judgment. The words hung in the air like poison. The rejection was premature, he continued, and I felt my wolf snarl at his casual dismissal of my humiliation. I acted on bad advice from my elders. Serena, I'm willing to reverse the rejection. Take you back as my Luna. We can bind our wolves properly this time. Gasps rippled through both groups. Rejections were almost never reversed. The damage to the wolf's core made such bonds unstable, dangerous. Behind the warriors, I spotted Kira's tear-streaked face. My sister looked desperate, torn between loyalty to family and loyalty to pack. Look at where you are. Damien gestured at Shadow's edge visible on the ridge behind us. Living with rogues, in a crude fortress, learning to fight like some barbarian warrior. This isn't you, Serena. Come home. Home. The word tasted bitter on my tongue. You humiliated me in front of 6 packs. Called my bloodline insufficient. Said I was a burden too weak to carry your name. I was wrong. No, you were honest, I cut him off. Now that you know what I truly am, suddenly I'm worth claiming again. His diplomatic mask slipped fractionally. You have a responsibility to your pack, to your people. That power inside you belongs. My power belongs to me, I interrupted, my voice carrying alpha command I hadn't known I possessed. Even Damien straightened involuntarily at the tone. Elder Tobias, who'd accompanied the delegation, stepped forward. His ancient face was stern, unyielding. Child, you bear the mark of the first Luna. That power belongs to the packs, not to rogues who reject our laws and traditions. I reject nothing except being owned, I replied, surprised by my own certainty. Your great-grandmother was Silverpine, Tobias continued. Your mother died in service to Silverpine. Your blood owes. She owes you nothing, Kaedor's voice cut like a blade. Her family served your pack for generations and died poor, disrespected, treated as lesser. You don't get to claim her now that she's valuable. Damien's patience finally cracked. If you don't return by the next full moon, 3 nights from now, the Alpha Council will declare you rogue. Not just living with rogues, but actually rogue. Fair game for any pack to hunt. The threat was clear. My freedom would cost rogue lives. Your protection means nothing, Kaedor, Damien continued. When the packs unite, your 300 rogues won't last a week against our combined forces. And we will unite against you if you keep her. Seri, please. Kira's voice broke through the political posturing. She pushed forward, tears streaming. Just come back. We can figure this out together. Don't throw your life away for pride. My heart fractured seeing my sister's anguish. Kira, I'm not throwing anything away. I'm finally finding it. They'll kill you, she sobbed. Or worse, they'll kill the rogues and drag you back anyway. Then at least I'll have fought, I said gently. I'm done letting others decide my fate. Damien made his final play. Prove you're not being held against your will. If you're truly free, compete in the Alpha's Challenge 3 nights from now. The ancient tradition sent murmurs through both groups. Any wolf could challenge for the right to lead, but it was brutal, usually fatal for non-alphas. If you survive 3 rounds, you'll be recognized as independent, Damien continued. You can live here or anywhere without pack interference. Absolutely not, Kaedor said immediately. She's been training for 2 days. I accept, I said, surprising even myself. Chaos erupted. Kaedor pulled me aside, his gold eyes blazing. You could die. The challenge isn't ceremonial. Wolves have been killed in that arena. Then train me. I met his stare. You have 3 days to make me strong enough to survive 3 rounds. That's all I need, survival, not victory. He studied my face for a long moment. You're sure? No. But I'm doing it anyway. Something shifted in his expression, respect, perhaps recognition of a kindred spirit who chose risk over submission. I called back to Damien, I accept, but with conditions. You're not in a position to make demands. I am if you want to avoid war, I interrupted. My conditions, the challenge is non-lethal, witnessed by neutral packs, and when I pass, all claims on me are permanently severed. Elder Tobias conferred with Damien in hushed tones. Finally, agreed. But if you fail, you return to Silverpine and submit to Alpha judgment. And if I refuse to fail? I asked with newfound defiance. Damien's smile was cold as winter. Then you die in the arena, and this entire rogue problem dies with you. The Silverpine wolves departed, but not before Kira mouthed "I love you" across the distance. I watched them disappear into the forest, where I might have just signed my own death warrant. Kaedor's hand settled on my shoulder. 3 days isn't enough time. It's the time we have. Use it. Back at the stronghold, Kaedor assembled his best fighters in the war room. We have 72 hours to prepare Serena for the Alpha's challenge. Rafe, you'll teach combat. NYX, weapons. Myra, wolf form fighting. I'll handle strategy and mental conditioning. He turned to me, his expression grave. You'll train 18 hours a day. It will break your body, push your wolf to the edge of madness. You'll want to quit. Promise me you won't. I promise, I said steadily. Make me strong enough to survive. Kaedor's eyes gleamed with something between admiration and worry. I'll make you more than strong enough to survive. I'll make you dangerous. A messenger arrived as we prepared for the first training session, his face pale with news he clearly didn't want to deliver. What is it? Kaedor demanded. Lydia Stormcrest has registered as one of the challengers Serena will face in the arena. The woman Damien had chosen over me. The Northern Ridge Alpha's daughter who'd smirked at my humiliation. She would be one of 3 opponents trying to break me in front of hundreds of witnesses. My wolf snarled with anticipation rather than fear. Good. Let her come. Let them all come. I was done being the rejected Omega. Time to show them what happened when you freed a caged predator. Dawn on day 1 found me standing in the training yard wearing light armor, bruises already forming from preliminary assessment drills. Every muscle screamed protest. Kaedor watched from the platform above, his expression unreadable as stone. Rafe began with brutal efficiency. Forget everything your pack taught you about fighting. Submissive wolves don't survive the challenge. He attacked without warning, taking me down in seconds. My back hit packed earth hard enough to drive air from my lungs. Again. And again. And again. By midday, I'd been thrown, pinned, and defeated 37 times. My pride shattered with each failure, frustration building until I screamed into the uncaring sky. This is impossible. Your mind thinks it's impossible, Rafe said calmly. Your wolf knows better. Stop fighting her. That afternoon, NYX took over with weapons training. My human form lacked raw strength, so I needed tools, leverage, strategy. Short blades, defensive staff, even improvised weapons, dirt, stones, anything that could turn the tide. In the arena, you use everything, she explained, demonstrating a strike with a practice blade. There are no rules except survival. During a drill, my blade accidentally cut her arm. I froze, horrified, but NYX grinned through the blood. There. That's the killer instinct. Do that again. Evening brought Kaedor's mental training. He made me relive the rejection ceremony in excruciating detail. Tell me what you felt when Damien said your bloodline was insufficient. I resisted, but he pushed relentlessly. The arena will break you if you can't face your own trauma first. The dam broke. Shame poured out, worthlessness, the bone-deep belief that I truly was less than, that every insult I'd endured was somehow deserved. Kaedor knelt before me as I sobbed. That shame is a weapon they used against you. Drop it. It doesn't serve who you're becoming. Who am I becoming? I asked through tears. Someone who knows her worth isn't determined by others' judgment. Day 2 brought full contact sparring against multiple opponents. 3 rogues at once, their attacks coordinated and relentless. I lasted 30 seconds initially, then a minute, then 2. Each small victory felt monumental. Myra taught wolf form combat, how to use smaller size as advantage, where to bite for maximum damage, how to break an opponent's grip. Your silver wolf is beautiful, but it makes you a target, she explained. Use that. Let them underestimate you, then go for the throat. During a water break, I noticed Kaedor watching me with unusual intensity. Every time we were near each other, the mate pull intensified, a golden thread connecting our chests that seemed to vibrate with shared energy. That night, I found him on the fortress walls, silhouetted against stars. The bond is distracting you during training, I said quietly. He didn't deny it. It's also making you stronger. Mate bonds enhance power in both wolves. What happens if I complete the challenge? The question I'd been avoiding. Do we have to complete the bond? He turned to face me fully. Only if you want to. I told you, I won't force anything. Silence stretched between us, charged with unspoken possibilities. Why did you really claim me? I asked. The truth, not politics or prophesize. Kaedor was quiet for a long moment. I've spent 10 years building this sanctuary for wolves the pack's rejected. Every wolf here has a story of being broken by the system. When I saw you at that altar, I saw myself 12 years ago, rejected, humiliated, told I was worthless. What happened to you? My father arranged my mating to a she-wolf I didn't love. When I refused, he declared me rogue and sent hunters after me. I killed 3 before escaping. Been running and fighting ever since. First real vulnerability he'd shown. So you claimed me out of sympathy? I claimed you because I knew what you'd become once you were free, he corrected. And maybe because I didn't want you to face this world alone like I did. Day 3 arrived with brutal finality. Morning brought a full contact scenario mimicking the arena. 5 opponents, no breaks, fight until submission or unconsciousness. This time, I lasted 12 minutes. Took down 2 opponents before being overwhelmed. My body was a constellation of bruises, cuts bleeding freely, but my eyes blazed with fierce determination. Kaedor called halt. Enough. You're as ready as you'll ever be. I collapsed, breathing hard. I can do this. The stronghold gathered to send me off. Wolves I barely knew approached with gifts, a sharpened claw necklace for luck, prayers to the moon goddess, a scarred warrior's blessing. Finn gave me a wolf tooth pendant. You gave me hope that outcasts can become legends. Don't die. I realized these wolves were my pack now, not by blood or territory, but by choice and respect. We traveled to neutral ground, a natural stone amphitheater hosting challenges for centuries. Hundreds of wolves already gathered, pack members mixing uneasily with neutral rogues. I spotted Kira in the crowd, looking terrified. Damien and Lydia sat in the Alpha's box, radiating confidence. The Alpha Council presided, 5 ancient Alphas governing inter-pack law. The other challengers were revealed: Lydia Stormcrest, Marcus Stone from Western Reach, and Thorn, a massive rogue opposing Kaedor's rule. Lydia approached me, her beautiful face arranged in false sympathy. This isn't personal. But when I defeat you, I'll prove to Damien he made the right choice. I surprised myself with my calm response. When you lose, remember it was to the weak Omega he rejected. Her smile faltered. The challenge master read the rules. 3 rounds, each against different opponent. Fight until submission or inability to continue. I must survive all 3 to win freedom. As I prepared to enter the arena, Kaedor caught my hand. Remember, you're not fighting to survive. You're fighting to live. There's a difference. What's the difference? Survivors endure. Wolves who live make others remember them. Our eyes locked, and the mate bond flared so bright that nearby wolves stepped back, shielding their eyes from the silver light. I entered the arena to roaring crowds. The stone floor was stained with blood from countless previous battles. Afternoon sun beat down mercilessly. The first Luna's bloodline was about to prove whether legends were born or made. And I intended to make them remember. The stone arena was ancient, its floor stained dark by generations of blood. I stood in the center, heart pounding as hundreds of eyes watched from tiered seating. Ceremonial silver bands on my wrists glinted in the harsh sunlight. This is it, friends. Serena's moment of truth. If this battle speaks to you, share your thoughts in the comments. Now, let's witness what she's truly made of. First round, Serena Ashwood vs Marcus Stone of Western Reach, the challenge master announced. Marcus entered, 6 feet of solid muscle, veteran of dozens of territorial fights, his body a roadmap of survived violence. He approached with measured confidence. I'll make this quick, girl. No hard feelings. The bell chimed. He attacked immediately. Marcus was faster and stronger, driving me back with powerful strikes. I used NYX's defensive training, blocking, dodging, searching for openings. But he was relentless, landing a hit that sent me sprawling across blood-stained stone. The crowd murmured. This looked like it would end in minutes. Damien leaned forward in his box, satisfaction spreading across his face. Kaedor's hands gripped the rail, his wolf barely contained beneath human skin. I remembered Kaedor's words, use your size, your speed, make them overcommit. When Marcus charged again, I didn't retreat. I dropped and rolled under his guard, my small blade flashing. It cut the back of his knee, not deep enough to cripple, but enough to slow him. The crowd gasped as I landed the first real blow. Marcus, frustrated, shifted to his wolf, a massive grey beast. I shifted too, and the arena fell silent. My silver wolf emerged, smaller but radiating otherworldly light. The crescent mark on my shoulder blazed with power. Marcus hesitated, just for a second. It was enough. I attacked with precision, using Myra's training, go low, strike fast, retreat before counters. After 3 minutes of brutal combat, Marcus submitted, throat exposed. I could have ended him. Instead, I stepped back, showing mercy. The crowd erupted in shock and cheers. I shifted back during the 15-minute break, breathing hard, bleeding from claw marks on my side. Theron rushed to treat me. That was well fought, but the next 2 will be harder. They saw your strategy. Kira reached the arena floor. Seri, you can forfeit now, you've proven. I haven't proven anything yet. I need all 3 rounds. In the Alpha's box, Damien's smile had vanished completely. Second round, Serena Ashwood vs Thorn of No Pack. Thorn entered, and the atmosphere changed. The massive rogue scarred from countless fights had been trying to overthrow Kaedor for years. Your Kaedor's weakness, he growled. When I break you, I break his hold on the Outlands. This wasn't about my freedom anymore, it was rogue politics. Thorn fought with no honor, no restraint. He was trying to maim, possibly kill, consequences be damned. I barely avoided a strike that would have crushed my skull. The wound in my side reopened, blood flowing freely. I was slower now, exhausted from the first fight. Thorn landed a devastating blow that cracked my ribs. I went down hard. The crowd held its breath. As Thorn moved in for the finish, my wolf surged with unprecedented power. Something ancient awakened inside me, not just my wolf, but the bloodline itself. My eyes flashed pure silver, and power radiated from me in visible waves. When I spoke, my voice carried alpha command that froze Thorn mid-step. Submit. Every wolf in the arena felt it, an alpha voice, but stronger, older than pack authority. Thorn's wolf forced him to his knees against his will. The arena was dead silent as I stood over him, bleeding and broken but victorious. Elder Tobias stood, outraged. This is impossible. She's using lunar magic, that's forbidden in the challenge. The neutral challenge master remained calm. There's no rule against using your natural abilities. She didn't use weapons or outside aid. The round stands. Damien looked sick with realization. I wasn't just first lunar bloodline, I was awakening my ancestors' full power. I collapsed the moment Thorn was removed. Theron worked frantically. You're bleeding internally. You need to forfeit. No. My voice was raw. One more. I can do one more. Kaedor climbed down to the arena floor, breaking protocol. Guards moved to stop him, but the challenge master allowed it. Her claimed mate may speak to her. He knelt beside me. You've proven enough. Don't die for pride. It's not pride. It's freedom. I met his eyes. My freedom, and the freedom of everyone at Shadow's Edge. If I stop now, the packs will always have a claim on me. Then let me give you strength, he said. Before I could ask what he meant, he kissed me. The mate bond flared to life completely, power flowing between us like lightning. I gasped as my wounds began healing faster, energy returning to exhausted limbs. The crowd saw it, the complete mate bond manifesting publicly. When we broke apart, my eyes were glowing. What did you do? Gave you what was already yours. Our bond, fully awakened. Now finish this. Final round, Serena Ashwood versus Lydia Stormcrest. Lydia entered, smiling. So you're his true mate. That's unfortunate for you. How so? Because when I defeat you, it'll break him. And Damien will finally see I'm the stronger choice. She wasn't fighting for Damien's approval, she was fighting because she was jealous. Lydia was skilled, precise, and fresh while I was exhausted. But I had something she didn't: desperation, rage, and the power of a fully manifested mate bond. We shifted to wolf forms, circling each other. Lydia's golden brown wolf was larger, but my silver wolf moved like moonlight. The fight was vicious, both warriors refusing to submit. We battled for 8 brutal minutes. I was failing, injuries catching up despite the mate bond's boost. Lydia pinned me, jaws closing toward my throat. In that moment, I heard voices, my mother, my grandmother, echoing through generations. You are not weak. You were never weak. Rise. Power exploded from me, throwing Lydia across the arena. I rose, my silver wolf crackling with visible energy. One final clash, and Lydia went down. I stood over her, waiting. She finally exposed her throat in submission. Serena Ashwood has survived all 3 rounds, the challenge master declared. By the old laws, she is recognized as independent. All pact claims are hereby severed. The crowd erupted, some cheering, some outraged. I shifted back and stood in the center of the arena, bloodied but unbowed. I looked directly at Damien. I was never your burden. You were mine. Then to the assembled alphas, I reject your authority over me. I reject your laws that break wolves into ranks. I am no one's Luna. I am free. As I walked toward Kaedor, the setting sun behind me created a silhouette that looked like a crowned queen. But Elder Tobias spoke words that froze everyone. The challenge is complete, but there's still the matter of prophecy. The council has voted. Serena Ashwood must be contained, for the safety of all packs. The arena erupted in chaos. Elder Tobias's declaration, that I must be contained despite winning the challenge, sent warriors from multiple packs moving to surround the exits. Kaedor's rogues, who'd been watching from the perimeter, drew weapons instantly. The air crackled with the promise of violence. I stood in the center of the arena, still bleeding from 3 brutal fights, and realized the truth with crystalline clarity. You rigged this. The challenge was just to see what I could do. Alpha Thaddeus of Northern Ridge confirmed my suspicion without shame. The Alpha's challenge gave us an excuse to gather you here, surrounded, where you couldn't run. The prophecy is clear. You're too dangerous to leave uncontrolled. Damien stood, and I saw it in his green eyes. He'd known all along, been part of this from the beginning. Serena, please, he said with false gentleness. Just come peacefully. We'll keep you comfortable, safe. Caged, I finished, my voice steady despite exhaustion. You mean caged? Kaedor positioned himself between me and the approaching pack warriors, his body tense as a drawn bowstring. His rogues flooded into the arena, not 300, but what looked like 500 strong. My eyes widened. How? Rafe grinned from nearby, blood still staining his tunic from earlier fights. You think we didn't know this was a trap? We've been gathering every rogue in the region for 3 days. You're not the only one who can plan. The numerical advantage had shifted, but the arena was still a kill box for both sides. One spark would ignite a massacre. As tensions reached breaking point, something happened inside me. My fear, rage, and desperation triggered a full awakening. Power erupted from me in waves of silver light that washed across the arena like dawn breaking. Every wolf, pack and rogue alike, was driven to their knees by the sheer force of Alpha command. I didn't mean to do it, but my wolf had finally broken free completely, and she was done being contained. When I spoke, my voice echoed with centuries of accumulated power. Enough. The single word reverberated off ancient stone, carrying weight that bent spines and forced heads down. I won your challenge, I said, turning slowly to address every wolf present. I proved my strength according to your laws. And still you want to put me in chains because you fear what I represent. My gaze swept across pack alphas, their warriors, the council members watching from their high seats. The first Luna created wolves to be free, to run wild, to live in harmony with moon and earth. You took that freedom and built hierarchies, ranks, cages made of tradition and fear. I spent 23 years believing I was weak because I was born to the wrong family. Because some alpha decided my great-grandmother wasn't worthy of respect, and that stain would follow me forever. Murmurs rippled through the crowd, but no one dared rise against the power still radiating from me. Every one of you has felt it, the crushing weight of pack law, the fear of stepping out of line, the knowledge that one wrong move means exile or death. How many have watched someone you love be cast out? How many live in fear of losing your rank, your place, your worth? Silence answered, but I saw recognition in dozens of eyes. I could destroy you all right now. I held up my hands, still glowing with silver light that cast shadows across blood-stained stone. This power inside me, it answers to me. I could burn these packs to ash like the prophecy says. Fear rippled through the assembled wolves like wind through grass. But I won't. Because I'm not your enemy. The system is. I addressed the pack wolves directly, making eye contact with warriors I could see struggling with their own doubts. I'm not your Luna. I'm not your queen. I don't want to rule you. My gaze found Kaedor, still standing ready to fight for me. And I'm not his, either, unless I choose to be. What I am is proof that the old ways are broken. That power doesn't flow from alpha bloodlines but from wolves who claim their own strength, who refuse to be diminished by others' judgment. So here's my choice, and I'm only making it once. My voice carried to every corner of the arena. Any wolf who wants to leave their pack, who's tired of living under laws that break them instead of building them, you're welcome at Shadow's Edge. Not as my subjects. As equals. We'll build something new together. A place where rank is earned through action, not birth. Where wolves choose their own mates. Where strength is measured by character, not bloodline. Elder Tobias roared, his ancient face twisted with fury. You're declaring war on the pack system itself. No, I said with perfect calm. I'm offering an alternative. You're the ones who have to decide if that's worth fighting over. Alpha Marcus of Western Reach stepped forward, his weathered face grave. You can't promise protection to every dissatisfied wolf. It'll tear the packs apart. Then maybe the packs deserve to be torn apart, I replied. Maybe we need to start over, build something that serves wolves instead of breaking them. Movement in the crowd. A she-wolf from Silverpine stepped into the arena, her head high despite obvious fear. I was rejected last year for being Omega. I'll come. Then another. My son was exiled for refusing an arranged mating. I'll come with you. More wolves moved forward, drawn by my words and the promise of something different. I watched Damien's face contort with horror as his pack members defected before his eyes. Serena, stop this, he demanded. You don't understand what you're doing. I understand perfectly, I interrupted. I'm giving wolves the choice you never gave me. Kaedor approached me then, and in front of hundreds of witnesses, he knelt. The gesture sent shockwaves through both factions. I claimed you to free you, he said, his golden eyes holding mine. Now you're freeing yourself and offering that freedom to others. Whatever you build next, I'll stand with you. Not as your alpha, but as your mate. Your equal. Your partner. If you'll have me. I pulled him to his feet, our hands joining as the mate bond blazed visible between us. Then stand beside me, not beneath me. The Alpha Council realized they'd lost this battle. They couldn't attack without triggering a war they might not win. And more importantly, forcing me to fight would only prove my point about pack oppression. Elder Tobias spoke with barely contained fury. This isn't over. You've made powerful enemies today. I've also made allies, I countered, gesturing to the wolves who'd stepped forward, 20, 30, still counting. And I've proven I'm not the weak Omega you all assumed I was. We left the arena with Kaedor at my side, followed by rogues and newly defected pack wolves. The group now numbered over 600. Kira ran to me, embracing me fiercely. I'm coming too. I'm not staying in a pack that would cage you. As we traveled back toward Shadow's Edge, I felt my power settling, no longer wild and explosive, but controlled, purposeful, mine. What happens now? I asked Kaedor. Now we build what comes next, he said. A place where wolves choose their own destiny. 1 week later, Shadow's Edge had transformed. New structures rose from stone and wood, former pack wolves training alongside rogues, the rigid boundaries between ranks dissolving into something fluid and merit-based. I stood on the fortress walls watching sunset paint the sky in shades of gold and crimson. Kira approached with a sealed message. The council sent another letter. They want to negotiate. Let them wait, I said. We'll negotiate when we're ready, on our terms. Kaedor joined us, sliding an arm around my waist. You've started something that can't be stopped, you know. Good. It was time someone did. As night fell, I howled, not in submission, not in defiance, but in pure joy. And across the outlands, hundreds of voices answered, creating a symphony of freedom that echoed off mountains and through forests. The rejected Omega was dead. In her place stood something the packs never anticipated, a Luna who wouldn't be bound, an Alpha who wouldn't be caged, and a revolution that began with 5 words. She's mine. She always was. But the story's ending revealed a deeper truth. I was never anyone's. I was always my own. And that made me the most dangerous wolf alive. The end. If you enjoyed Serena's journey from rejected Omega to legendary Luna, please subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss a story. Share your favorite moment in the comments below. I read every single one and your thoughts inspire future tales. Where are you listening from? Let me know. If you want more stories like this, tales of strong characters claiming their power, finding true love, and breaking free from what holds them back, check out the playlist in the description. I have dozens of complete audiobook stories waiting for you. Thank you for spending this time with me and with Serena. Until the next story, remember, you are never too broken to be remade, never too weak to claim your strength, and never too lost to find your way home. Stay wild, stay free, and keep howling at the moon.